just gonna get some forks and.
No, 2 plates will be plenty. Right, Melissa?
What?
2 plates will be enough.
Are we gonna sing?
I'm gonna ask you.
No.
Sing.
Not necessary. My grandkids sing to me though.
I love to sing happy birthday.
Do you want to do a song?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I did have a picture of my birthday cake. I don't know if I son here or not.
Melinda, it's my stepson's birthday today too.
Oh, today isn't my birthday, but it's today the 13th?
I'm assuming yes, but I'll get that clarified.
Maybe that's why I want to sing happy birthday.
That's right. Well, you can sing here when you get home.
I can't control it.
My birthday
Yes,
is
you
Easter
can.
Sunday
Okay.
this year.
Yes, you can.
All right.
Here it is.
I'll go get the clip.
Here's my cake this year. Read it.
I'm just.
That was my birthday.
My whole day is screwed up.
The kids,
I never.
the kids brought the birthday cake, so I said, then I get to keep the candle.
Said I'm not gonna be there.
German chocolate.
21.
That's dog years.
Oh, you're cruel.
I will confirm that with you.
It was good, it's German chocolate, but we only ate it part of
Lori,
it.
thanks for getting.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. We're going to skip the pledge of allegiance, a moment of silence, please, and we'll move on to a roll call.
Commissioner Robbins,
Here.
Commissioner Rushton,
Present.
Chairman Bunnick,
Barely.
Commissioner Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Solis,
Here.
Commissioner Elgar,
Here.
Commissioner Lohner.
Sorta.
All here.
Okay, if there's any public comment, please call 231-256-8109, 231-256-8109.
I forgot to bring mine. And Lori had a-
Yeah, that's the book.
Borrowed one.
Hearing none, we'll move on to the purpose.
Here, please.
She brought it over. Thank you.
Number 1 is our annual statutory equalization hearing. And the report.
What is it? Good afternoon, I guess still, right? This year continued to be a very interesting year. COVID-19 and the resulting Michigan Department of Health and Human Services order had townships scrambling to figure out how to hold March boards of review this year. Overall, the boards of review went very well for all the challenges that they had. This was also the first year for the new PA 660 of 2018 mandate for Board of Review members to receive training. Every Board of Review member must take training to receive certification, and this certification must be attached to the assessment roll. I taught a class for the Michigan Townships Association for their annual Board of Review school this year. It was in their advanced session, and it was called Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal Data Standards, which will need to be implemented by assessors this year for next year's roll. So on to the apportionment report. I'm going to refer to tabs or for what's the word I need? Next slide. As we're going through the report, if you have the report in front of you. The cover of the equalization report shows the units, the supervisors and the assessors for the report. We have 12 units and 6 assessors. Julie Crombine has 4 units. Polly Carnes has 2 units. Barbara Jones, 2 units. And Christy Brow has 2 units. Pam Zentek and Angela Frisky each have 1 unit. Julie Crombine, Christy Brow, Polly Carnes, Barbara Jones, and Angela Frisky are also assessors in other counties. Next slide. The Constitution of Michigan of 1963, Article 9, Section 3 created the process of equalization. Michigan compiled Law 21134 implemented the constitutional mandate stating, the County Board of Commissioners shall examine the assessment rolls of the townships of cities and ascertain whether the real and personal property in the respective townships or cities have been equally and uniformly assessed at true cash value. 21134.3 talks about the equalization department specifically. The County Board of Commissioners of a county shall establish and maintain a department to survey assessments and assist the Board of Commissioners in the manner of equalization of assessments. and may employ in that department technical and clerical personnel which in its judgment are considered necessary. The personnel of the department shall be under the direct supervision and control of the director of the Tax or Equalization Department, who may designate an employee of the department as his or her deputy. The director of the county tax or equalization department shall be appointed by the county board of commissioners. The assessment equalization process sets the property tax base for the county and helps ensure that property taxes are levied in a fair and equitable manner. If the county board of commissioners is deficient in establishing county equalized value and the state steps in with the state equalized value, which is different, a truth in county equalization rollback would result in lost revenue for the county. Next slide, please. Next is a letter to the board which states all county equalized values are subject to review and change by the Michigan State Tax Commission until the fourth Monday in May, when the final order is issued. The official report, L4024, is filed with the State Tax Commission by May 3rd, 2021. State equalization will take place May 24th, 2021. As I mentioned in this letter, I wish to personally express my appreciation to the Board of Commissioners, staff members, and assessing officers of the county for their cooperative effort. The successful completion of this report has been a synergistic accomplishment. Next slide, please. Next is a resolution for the board to adopt the equalization report. It allows corporate counsel and myself to represent the board at 2 statutory meetings they would be May 10th and May 24th if it should become necessary. Next slide. Next is the certification of the recommended county equalized valuations by the equalization director. On the certification, it states that Leelanau County is a level 4 county and that I am certified at level 4 in my recommendations for county equalized values for the various classes. Next slide, please. We have to go back one, please. We were missing something. Tab 5 should have been the staff from the equalization department involved in this report and who they report to. Next slide. Next is the report called the Percent Change 2020 to 2021 by local unit. Behind this report are, in the same tab, are graphs where we take the report and show items visually. We've added the villages to this report. Parcel count has decreased 0.77%. County equalized value has increased 4.43% to $4,244,790,022. Taxable value has increased 3.73% to $3,122,236,394. Our CPI was positive 1.4%, or a ratio of 1.014. Where there's a gap between assessed and taxable, the taxable value will go up. The largest increase in taxable value was Traverse City at 6.61%, followed by Centerville at 5.34%. Bingham at 4.93%, and Casson at 4.71%. Next slide, please.
A quick question, please. Bring back. Lori, under your parcel count, so there was merging of properties, I guess, because property line didn't go away. So did you have merging of?
Frequently, what we'll have is a combination of parcels where they'll combine 2 into 1 or 3 into 1.
I think there was a case last year too, wasn't it? Didn't you have a lowering last year too? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sometimes it's because when they want to build, they need to combine those properties so that they're not over a line with a garage.
Or lots on the lake to get something to do.
Right.
Gotcha.
Next is a graph of the parcel count showing 25,667 parcels. Leelanau has the highest parcel count at 3,571, and Traverse City the lowest at 386. Sorry. Next slide, please. I don't know what's going on because I'm not seeing what I'm thinking I'm going to see on the screen. The next two graphs are county equalized value by township, showing Leland with the highest equalized value here at 730,261,050, followed by Glen Arbor at 697, 693, 900. The lowest county equalized value is Traverse City at 53, 321, 600. The graph on the right is county equalized value by percent, which shows the same thing. Leland has 17% of the county equalized value. Glen Arbor has 16% and Traverse City 1%. The next two graphs in your packet are county taxable value. Leland is first at 522, 840, 695, followed by Glen Arbor at 496, 015, 597. The right graph is taxable value by percent of whole. Leland at 16.75%, followed by Glen Arbor at 15.89%, and so forth. The next two graphs in your packet show the real class of taxable value, both by taxable value and percent. And residential is 39. It's been a long day for me too, sorry. 91.31% of the whole. This class continues to grow as a percent of the whole in the county. The next graph puts county equalized value and taxable value for 2021 side by side for a comparison. Taxable value is limited to the rate of inflation unless there was a transfer of ownership or there was new construction. Tab 7 is where we show assessed and equalized value by class in a graph between 2020 and 2021. All classes showed an increase this year. The next slide, or tab 8, shows county equalized values since 2003. Again, you can see the values climbed until 2008, which was the high point when it started to decline. Since 2014, it has been climbing again. If you recall, last year we surpassed the 2008 values for the first time, and it continues to rise. It took state and local governments years to dig out of the fiscal holes left by the Great Recession that ended in 2009. It took our county 12 years. The question remains to be answered: how will the coronavirus impact the future of the tax base of the county? The next few slides I wanted to show you shows the increase from 2013 to 2021 visually. So next slide, please. I think we're going to have to give up on the slides, but hopefully in your packet.
It was there.
Can you?
Yeah. Back one.
No, it's going to go back even farther.
I think we all have a booklet anyway.
No, yeah, you just went through that slide with us.
She's not showing the slides that I had though, and that's what I wanted to show
Everyone has
you.
a book, so they can.
Yeah, we're all
Okay.
on the book anyway.
Well, the next slides that I had in my PowerPoint that she's not showing, it just showed you visually. And what I wanted to point out was that we had a big drop in Leland Township in terms of value, where we had an assessment that went to the Michigan Tax Tribunal that went from 11,489,000 to 4 million. So that was a pretty significant drop. That particular taxpayer is still a #1 taxpayer in Leland Township, however.
So, and what is their tax bill? Do you know right offhand?
What it is, what it will be, you mean?
Yeah.
Not right offhand, because I'd have to, we don't even have the new millages in yet.
That slide you wanted was up a moment ago.
Tab 9 is the report that I like you to look at, because that's the one that I always kind of review for from a budget standpoint. It's called the Taxable Value versus SEV Report.
Tab 9.
Tab 9. In one of the largest classes, obviously, is the residential class, so that's the one that I always look at. in 2021, the percent of parcels where taxable value equal the SCV was 18.18%. Last year it was 17.49%. That's one that I monitor to kind of see what's happening in terms of whether we've had transfers of ownership or what might be going on. And since that's our biggest class, it's the one I like to look at. Tab 10 is the Board of Review Action Report. As an equalization department, we receive from each unit a report titled the Board of Review Action Report. And I look this report over for a lot of reasons. One is whether we're going to have Michigan Tax Tribunal appeals and how many we might have. Appeals are costly. Another reason that I like to look at it, and I like to look to see what they are, is there may be problems that we're not aware of, and those problems I like to know about and become aware of. We had 178 appeals at March Board of Review with 121 appeals granted. The next page, which is still under tab 10, is a graph by unit showing the number of Board of Review appeals versus the percent granted. In that same area, the next page is a graph which shows the percent granted by unit. And the next graph shows the assessed and taxable value removed or added by Board of Review by unit. Value is typically removed, but a Board of Review could add value, and where that might happen is where you would have them finding a parcel that's not on the roll or not being assessed and adding it. The next graph is...
Right, on that slide, it looks like there's a lot of variability between the townships. Does that say something about who's doing the assessment, or is it more about why would, for example, only 13% of the complaints in Leelanau be granted and 88% in Bingham?
Sometimes, like in the next tab where I've tracked it over time, this is just a personal opinion, but I've tracked it over time from 2012 to 2021. And the most appeals over that time frame was Sutton's Bay. They had 558 appeals with 435 granted, which meant 435 times the Board of Review agreed with those people sitting in the chair. When I see a large percent like that, in my opinion, it indicates that the unit needs a complete reappraisal.
Indicates what?
I think it indicates that the unit needs a complete reappraisal, but that's, again, a personal opinion. There's a lot of appeals. Usually when you get a lot of appeals, you have a lot of people that aren't very happy with their assessment.
And you know what? Cleveland Township, as much as I love the people in my township, they are really, really hard to get an appeal through. The assessor is the same one for 3 other townships, and the numbers look like everybody else's in those townships. So it's not the assessor, it's the board and the supervisor. And they have a policy, and people don't get their appeals.
Yeah, there could be a lot of reasons.
I've been tracking it for years.
You could have a more experienced Board of Review. Sometimes you'll have a Board of Review where the Board of Review members have been there for a long time. And sometimes you would have a Board of Review where they're brand new Board of Review members and just getting training and have never gone through that process before. So sometimes it depends on those circumstances as well.
Yeah, but like comparatively.
We're done. We're
Yeah,
getting a message.
kind of. So take for example, it's the first one listed alphabetically is Bingham. So it's showing, and I'm on tab 10, I guess. So it's showing a reduction, a reduction of a value of $1,400,000. What's the
That's
assessed value change? They changed. Okay, so the taxable value change would be 100,000. But what was it? So they had assessed it at the $1,400,000 and they changed it down to the 956,000? Is that what?
That was, well, the 956 is the taxable value that changed, because remember, we have two columns that we're working with at Board of Review. One is the assessed and taxable is.
Right, so if we, I guess, you go back one page two, if you look at I guess I'm looking at, the taxes were raised, the people appealed, so what I'm saying is they might not have got a complete reversion back to what they were paying in taxes, but they might have won an award, basically. So the taxes may have still gone up, they just didn't go up at the rate they thought they should. So where do we compare that?
And this is really a hard concept for a lot of people to understand. If you have a big gap between your taxable and assessed, even if the Board of Review would drop the taxable, does not mean that your taxable is going to drop, because if there's a gap, that taxable is still going to go up that rate of inflation.
Right.
So it really depends. That's why that one graph where I showed you how close are the two really makes a difference, because if they're close in assessed drops, then taxable would also drop, because it can never be higher than the assessed. But if there's a big gap, a lot of people really have trouble with that, is why did my assessment go down and my taxable go up? And it will go up if there's a big gap. I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope I
Well,
did.
that's a different answer, but it's very good information. Yeah, everybody should understand that too. There's a big difference in the two.
Tab 11, in November of 2013, Public Act 161 was signed into law granting 100% property tax exemption for qualified disabled veterans. The Public Act amended MCL 21176 of the general property tax law. Leelanau County lost $8,652,978 in taxable value as a result of this act. At our Friday's MEAD meeting, Chris Hackbarth of the MML spoke about MML, MAC, and MTA are all working jointly to support legislation that would shift the revenue burden of the disabled veteran tax exemption from the local units to the state. Our counties are being asked for any data on as granular level as possible on the number of parcels receiving the exemption on a unit-by-unit basis. They feel that having the number of parcels in a given community and the related SEV and taxable values prior to the exemption will allow them to get a sense for the scope of the existing exemption and can begin to evaluate the tax impact for the various tax jurisdictions in each local unit. And I have submitted that to them for Leelanau County. Tab 12 is the special acts tab. We are equalizing the ad valorem roll, but we also have special acts rolls that are composed of DNR parcels, land bank sale parcels, payment in lieu of taxes or PILT parcels, and qualified forest. All units in the county have some type of special acts parcels. The commercial forest reserve, for instance, which is the first one in that tab, is $1.30 an acre. If it were a 40-acre parcel, the tax bill would be $52, and out of that $52, the county would receive a portion of that, approximately somewhere around $5. Leelanau County has 1,708.56 acres in commercial forest for a total revenue of 2,221.13. Tab 13, you will see the L4037s for the various units in Leelanau County.
Which taxes?
Tab 13. Part 3 of the L4037 is the Board of Commissioners certification. It states in part, we further certify that the County Board of Commissioners have examined the assessment roll of the above-mentioned local unit of government and have determined the equalized valuations of the taxable ad valorem and special act property to be accurate. This is signed by the chairperson of the County Board of Commissioners and the clerk. The original gets attached to the assessment roll with copies provided to the local unit and the clerk. I provided a copy of these to Michelle, and I will need these signed and back. The important part of this, in my opinion, is if you see on that particular page, it says the county board adds to or deducts a sum to each class. Intra-county equalization, which is what this board is doing, is the responsibility of the County Board of Commissioners as assisted by the County Equalization Department. The county is unit by unit. Individual assessments are established by the assessor and is parcel by parcel. An equalization study cannot correct individual assessments. Only the assessor and the board of review can. The state is county by county. The function of the County Equalization Department is to establish and maintain uniformity between townships and cities in the county by estimating the total value of each classification in each township and city. Individuals that are upset about their assessment need to appeal to the March Board of Review, the Michigan Tax Tribunal, the Court of Appeals, and the Michigan Supreme Court. An appeal of an individual's assessment does not come to this County Board of Commissioners. It is really an important concept to understand because I continually have people say to me that I am the boss of the assessors. I am not. The local unit is the only one. They're the only ones that hire and fire assessors. And the state is the only entity that can discipline an assessor. Tab 14 is the L4024, which is the official equalization report submitted to the State Tax Commission, signed by the Equalization Director, Clerk, and Chairperson of the County Board of Commissioners, and mailed to the state by May 3rd. I also provided a copy of that to Michelle, and again, that copy I will need back signed. Tab 15 is a graph showing the sheriff's sales occurring during the time frame that the assessors were required to use this year in the residential class, which was April 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2020. Again, foreclosures drag values down. And while we don't use foreclosures in our sales studies, where they are located and how many there are could significantly affect value, so we do monitor them closely. They are down from last year. We had 19 in 2020 and 16 this year. The next, behind that is the listing of those sheriff's sales. Tab 15 is the percent change in value that was used for the hotspot analysis from 2020 to 2021. The CPI, again, was 1.4%, so larger numbers bear looking at. I always like to review, and I looked at the 20 green, which were the high positive change, and found 11 to be vacant, 9 were new construction, where you would expect high positive percent of change, and 1 was an improved land value increase. I also looked at 20 red, which is a high negative percent of change, and 9 were veterans exemptions, 10 were conservancy, went into the conservancy, and 1 was a church going from taxable to exempt. Behind that is the hotspot analysis map. We use that percent change for the hotspot analysis map. But the difference between the two is in the hotspot analysis, it looks not just that there was a high percent of change or a low percent of change, but do we have clusters anywhere that are significantly different than other areas of the county to determine whether there's something going on. The areas shaded dark blue represent significant clusters of residential parcels that have lost value over the previous year, while areas shaded dark red represent significant clusters of parcels that have increased in value over the previous year. A high Z-score and a small p-value for feature indicates a significant hotspot. A low negative Z-score and small p-value indicate a significant cold spot. Let's see what the next slide brings up. I was hoping it would show. No,
Lori,
we're not getting.
on the veterans thing, are those disabled veterans or is it just any veteran?
No, it's disabled, and it has to be determined by the Veterans Affairs whether they qualify. So they have to actually have a letter that they bring to the Board of Review that they qualify.
So it's for disabled veterans.
And their surviving spouse. So
And their surviving spouse. What isn't showing, and so I don't know quite why my PowerPoint isn't showing this, but what I wanted to show is there is an area in Leelanau Township, if you look on that map up in the upper right of the map up in Leelanau Township, and if you know where Cherry Homes subdivision is, or Crystal Cove and Arcadia Woods, that has a high percent of change. So we had a significant cluster in that area that went up. I wanted to kind of break it out. The next, this map is an updated cropland data layer using the most widely used crop-specific land use data. The cropland data layer produced from the USDA. This layer is overlaid on the agricultural parcels in the county outlined in white. And it was just released February 1st of 2021. The most notable aspect of the new data layer is that USDA is refining their older data sets, which weren't quite as accurate as their current ones, and they're doing this using machine learning. Machine learning is also being used in assessment administration now. They have trained machines to look at pictures to recognize whether it's brick or what the type of window. And so it is sort of fascinating that that's also being used by assessors. MSU does an extensive agricultural land values and leasing rates study every year that our department participates in. We are in District 2, and they have found, and we have found in our studies, that the highest land values are for fruit trees, followed by land that is suitable for fruit. It drops off for land primarily producing field crops such as grains. The highest priced agricultural land in Michigan is capable of producing fruit and is located in proximity to Lake Michigan, which of course Leelanau County is. According to the 2017 Census of Agricultural in Leelanau County, where they send out surveys to agricultural landowners, the number one crop was tart cherries, followed by forage such as hay, followed by sweet cherries, then grain or corn for grain, and then apples. What is sort of interesting, and I don't think the next slides are going to come up either, and I wanted to kind of show this to you, but what we've done is taken our 2012 aerials and our 2017 aerials, and if I could have shown you on the screen, it would have shown areas in the county where we're seeing crops being removed. In other words, one of the slides I had was the first one, I guess, was apple trees, where half of the apple trees are now gone. And you can see from 2012 to 2017, the trees are just gone. In another instance, a very large parcel that was a cherry tree farm, all of the cherry trees are gone. Now, I'm told that apple trees are coming back to replace the cherry trees, but what we're seeing pretty consistently between the 12 and the 17 are crop removal. So it'll be interesting to see, because we have aerials that are going to be flown, or should be being flown actually right now in Leelanau County, that will give us a sign of what's happening on some of those in this spring once we have them. But it's an interesting phenomenon that I'm seeing in some of our agricultural land is crop removal.
Very interesting, because it wasn't more than probably 10 years ago, they were ripping out mature apple orchards because there wasn't even a juice price for apples, there was nothing. But now I think it's a lot of it's fresh market that you're seeing being replanted.
And we also saw hops came in big and left. So it's something we do monitor. So having an updated map from, it helps us just kind of have an idea of what they've mapped, at least in the county, so we can monitor it both with new aerials and when we're in the field. Behind that map is the L4046, which is the taxable valuation report. It is also a required report by the Equalization Director. The next is another form of the Equalization report, and I always include that because frankly, I like this report and I use it more than I like the official report because it compiles the information just a little bit differently. Little last slide is just my wrap up, and that is our job as an equalization department is to ensure equity and fairness in the equalization process, and it's to assist the county board in your statutory duty, which is county equalization. Are there any questions regarding the equalization report?
It's very, very interesting and comprehensive. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did it, Lori, send you a question, but you're going to get back to me on that if you can on that.
I actually did. I didn't know if I could get it done today, but I did send it to you, so.
Okay. I asked Lori the percentage of our properties that were non-homestead and non-resident. I thought that'd be interesting to see how much of our county taxes are being paid by.
The taxes for non-residents owned property is 61.64%.
How much?
54%, sorry.
However, within that dimension is residents who own a second parcel that they're paying non-homestead.
Right.
Lori, could you give us an update, and I got one a few years ago, what percentage of our property tax revenue is waterfront? Please.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
As you know, it's a large percent.
Pardon?
I said, I'm sure you know it's a very large percent.
It used to be like 51. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'll look again, but I know it's big.
Yeah, thank you.
So we need a motion for the equalization report resolution. This would be a roll call vote.
You're looking for us to accept the report?
We-
Excuse me.
You would have to be approved today, because today is county equalization.
Yes, this is a special meeting, so whatever.
No, I didn't know if it was accept or approve. I didn't know what she was looking for. She's like,
Well, it should be the resolution that I provided.
Right, it's on page 2 of this report.
oh.
Right.
Thank you, Jim. I move to approve the resolution as presented. Because she did send it to us.
Yes, it's right here in the book on page 2.
Oh, I don't have it too. But support. That's support. I'm sure it's correct.
That was the equalization.
It's actually under number 3. I'm sorry. It's under number 3, but it says page 2.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Oh, it is a resolution. I see
Yeah.
that. And you started out as a letter, so I thought it was a letter to the
I
board.
just want to clarify that was the resolution 2021
Equalization.
and the equalization report, both of them.
And that's by Commissioner Wessel, second by Commissioner Wessel.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
also second.
Oh, you should, sorry.
I seconded it first.
Can't
I
hear
got
you.
them both times.
Thank you.
She seconded it
Yes,
first.
please, on the roll
Commissioner
call.
Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Albert,
Yes.
Chairman Browning,
Yes.
Commissioner Weltner,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sortolo,
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
If there
Lori.
any-
Thank
If
you.
there's any public comment, please call 231-256-8109, 231-256-8109. You deserve a reward if you're out there.
Thank you for the.
I just wanted to point out, this is
That's what
interesting,
I was
the
asking for.
Leelanau
Oh, for
Sheriff's
time?
Office.
Yeah.
So if you read it, it's interesting under the accident statistics.
Did you want me to? give
People
this
are
to
doing
her?
really good with the deer.
Are you showing me, or did you want this for time?
Well, you can keep it too, because I emailed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
People weren't on the road, actually.
You're